Welcome to Mindful Stress Reduction. We're going to be looking at grounding the mind. So we're going to do a little bit of theory as to what this means and why it works. And then we're also going to look at how we could practice this on our own. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to actually do the practice here. Now, the mind, they estimate that we think between 60 to 70 thoughts per day, which is enough to fill quite a large book. And they also say that about 3/4 of those thoughts have a negative bias to them. Sometimes a recent study indicated that 47% of the time, this is done by Harvard, that our thoughts, we're unaware of our thoughts. So we can be building up these emotions and we don't even realize it if we're not aware of them. And that's really what mindfulness is bringing awareness, a different quality of awareness and a different way of thinking. So when we realize, we feel that we're getting angry, we'll just use that in the example, and then what we do is we bring an attention to that as that's caring. So rather than getting angry at ourselves for getting angry, we can redirect our attention to safe locations in the body. So the feet, the hands, and the tongue, these are all safe locations to put more of the attention on. And what will happen is over time that will weaken these emotional loops that are going on. So when we look at the brain has this real estate, we'll call it, area, and we can see that this here is a foot. And we can see how much area that in the brain that the foot takes. So if we think about a toddler, I guess that's why they're called toddlers, because it takes quite a long time before we can actually get enough function in there that we can balance. And then again, the hand, we can see how much area that takes up in the brain. And again, it takes about 4 or 5 years before a child can develop a pinch grip. So it does take a lot of brain development. And that's good news for us because the more that we can focus on these, the more it will weaken the emotional stress that we're experiencing. And then the last one that we use often is the tongue. The tongue has a lot of nerve endings in it, and you can actually use it when you're talking. So toes, fingers, and tongues. These are going to be the 3 areas that we suggest for practicing. So the practicing here would begin with finding. This is called spatial awareness. It's like, where is it? Where are my feet? That, again, is going to help to weaken this. And then we need to offer the mind something rather than what it's going to think about, because we've got a 3-to-1 ratio with 75% of our thoughts being negative if we're not aware of them. And I don't mean like really negative, I just that they have a bias in them. And finding the toes, that directs the mind. So we become aware, and best if we can cycle this with our in-breath. You may not be able to do it at first, but later on as you go through the practice, you'll become more acquainted with this. Breathing in, I find my toes. Breathing in, I find my toes. So that's all it is. We're using something that is straightforward. It's just an objective phrase that's true because you know that you're breathing in. And there's no subjective component to this. So the first part of the phrase is always breathing in. Now, the next step, and this could be like one breath away, is breathing in, I flex my toes. Breathing in, I flex my toes. Breathing in, I flex my toes. And then the stronger the emotion is, the stronger we can flex our toes. So we can use it proportionally to the strength of the emotion, to the strength of the anger. And that's where like a good swift walk will help with this, becoming more aware of your body as it's moving and as your feet strike the ground. And then in particular, there's a lot more sensation and nerve endings in the toes. So that's the strongest place to focus on. And again, this will take some practice. It'll probably take a couple of weeks of practicing this. for it to start to be established as a safe alternative to, we'll say, over anger or anxiety. Now, the next stage is, again, this is the feeling part of it, and this is more subtle. So it's good not to expect that you're going to be able to feel a lot, the first few times that you do this practice, but again, it always starts with breathing in. So by now you might be more aware of the in-breath, and so you just complement that with breathing in, I feel my toes. Breathing in, I feel my toes. And so the next stage we go to is to the fingers. So finding the fingers again with an objective phrase, breathing in, I find my fingers. Breathing in, I find my fingers. And then to flexing, breathing in, I flex my fingers. Breathing in, I flex my fingers. And again, this can be proportional to the amount of anxiety or anger that is present. And we can use this very nicely when we're driving the car. If we're feeling a bit anxious, we're upset, we can just grip the steering wheel a little bit tighter and just be mindful that we're doing it and feeling those sensations. Then there again, we have another opportunity to break up these stress loops and redirect our attention to a caring and safe place in our body. And then last is the feeling. Breathing in, I feel my fingers. Breathing in, I feel my fingers. So next we'll move to the tongue again with the spatial awareness. Where is my tongue in my mouth? Again, it's helping again to redirect this to a safe place in our body. And it's always available to us. So breathing in, I find my tongue. And so we just find wherever the tongue is in the mouth, that's fine. We just let it be there. The next stage would be flexing. So again, breathing in, I flex my tongue. And here we move the tongue up behind the teeth to the roof of the mouth. And again, it's proportional to the strength of the emotion that is happening. And then gently, again, breathing in, I flex my tongue. Breathing in, I flex my tongue. And then the final stage, again, not to expect too much of yourself. That's just going to add more stress and anxiety to your practice. Just feeling, breathing in, I feel my tongue. Breathing in, I feel my tongue. So you can build up a cadence with these practices, with the breathing in at the same time that it's synchronized with the breath and a phrase. This is very, very helpful, especially if there's trauma that you have, and I think we probably all do in various ways. This is a way to slowly and slowly, over time, help to make friends with that trauma and give it an opportunity to be released. So in summary, we have this opportunity with mindful stress reduction that we can ground the mind. We look at the brain and we see that the brain has a lot of area where these safe locations are. We can use that to our advantage by using the mindfulness triangle of attention, intention, and specific action. So once again, I want to thank you for your interest in our little micro courses. We like to keep them under 10 minutes. Now, if you're interested in actual guided meditation, if you can just send me an email, and then what I can do is I can put one together and post it up here in the future so that we could actually get a first-hand experience of the benefits of this practice. So once again, thank you for your interest.